that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And when we buy Amazon, we try and figure out whether, or the fellow that bought it tries to figure out whether there's 3 or 4 or 5 in the bush and how long it'll take to get to the bush.
By not buying shares right now, it suggests that you think maybe they're too rich, or is it that you don't understand the company's valuation?
It's a big valuation. It's very hard when you thought about something at 1/10 the price to buy it.
How come you don't buy shares of Amazon?
Stupidity.
This question is from Ken Scarbeck in Indianapolis. He says, with the full understanding that Warren had no input on the Amazon purchase and that relative to Berkshire, it's likely a small stake, the investment still caught me off guard. I'm wondering if I should begin to think differently about Berkshire looking out, say, 20 years. Might we be seeing a shift in investment philosophy away from value investing principles that the current management has practiced for 70 years? Amazon is a great company, yet it would seem its heady shares 10 years into a bull market appear to conflict with being fearful when others are greedy. Considering this and other recent investments like StoneCo, should we be preparing for a change in the price versus value decisions that built Berkshire?
Yeah, it's interesting that the term value investing came up, because I can assure you that both managers and one of them bought some Amazon stock in the last quarter, which will get reported in another week or 10 days. He is a value investor. The idea that value is somehow connected to book value or low price earnings ratios or anything, as Charlie has said, all investing is value investing. I mean, you're putting out some money now to get more later on, and you're making a calculation as to the probabilities of getting that money and when you'll get it and what interest rates will be in between, and all the same calculation goes into it, whether you're buying some bank at 70% of book value or you're buying Amazon at some very high multiple of reported earnings. Amazon, the people making the decision on Amazon are absolutely much value investors, as I was when I was looking around for all these things selling below working capital years ago. So that has not changed. The two people that, one of whom made the investment in Amazon, they are looking at many hundreds of securities, and they can look at more than I can because they're managing less money and their universe, possible universe, is greater. But they are looking for things that they feel they understand what will be developed by that business between now and Judgment Day in cash. And it's not sales. Current sales can make some difference. Current profit margins can make some difference. Tangible assets, excess cash, excess debt, all of those things go into making a calculation as to whether they should buy A versus B versus C. And they are absolutely following value principles. They don't necessarily agree with each other or agree with me, but they are very smart. They are totally committed to Berkshire, and they're very good human beings on top of it. So I don't second guess them on anything. Charlie doesn't second guess me on. In 60 years, he's never second guessed me on an investment. And the considerations are identical when you buy Amazon versus some, say, bank stock that looks cheap statistically against book value or earnings or something of the sort. In the end, it all goes back to Aesop, who in 600 BC said, that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And when we buy Amazon, we try and figure out whether, or the fellow that bought it tries to figure out whether there's 3 or 4 or 5 in the bush and how long it'll take to get to the bush, how certain he is that he's going to get to the bush, and then who else is going to come and try and take the bush away, and all of that sort of thing. And we do the same thing, and it really, despite a lot of equations you'll learn in business school, the basic equation is that of Aesop, and your success in investing depends on how well you were able to figure out how certain that bush is, how far away it is, and what the worst case is. Instead of two birds being there, only one being there, and the possibilities of 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 being there. And that will guide me, that will guide my successors in investment management at Berkshire, and I think they'll be right more often than they're wrong.
You mentioned Amazon as a game changer, and I have to ask you, you haven't bought the stock. You're an admirer of Jeff Bezos. A listing of the richest people in America came out. He's number 1. I think your friend Bill Gates is number 2. You're number 3. So you can see what he's done in myriad ways. Yeah. And of course, the question is, how come you haven't bought Amazon? Is there still time to buy it? Would you still buy it?
Oh, I always admired Jeff. I mean, I met him 20 years ago or so, and I thought he was something special, but I didn't realize you could go from books to what's happened there. No, I mean, he had a vision and executed it in an incredible way, something that it would not have, but there's a lot of games I miss. I would have missed, I would have missed Microsoft even if I gotten to know Bill earlier or something. Those just aren't my games. I don't worry about the things that I miss that are outside my circle of competence of evaluating. I have missed things that were within my circle, and that's a terrible mistake. Those are my biggest mistakes. You haven't seen them. But I don't, it's not a mistake because I miss Netscape or something like that at all. I would say that maybe 5% of the companies or 10% of the companies at most are within an area of my circle of competence. There's something I should be able to understand. Look with Amazon, he said, we needed the internet. Somebody else spent billions of dollars developing it, but it wouldn't have worked without the internet. He said we needed transportation. Somebody else had already built railroads and UPS and all of that sort of thing. And he said we needed payment systems. That would take billions of dollars to build, but that had already been done by Visa and all along the line. So he took 3 huge requirements where the other guys had spent the money, and then he combined them in a way that he didn't have to spend the money. It's brilliant. I give him great credit for it.
You have talked extensively over the last several days, even the last several months, about how Jeff Bezos is the best business leader you think we have right now in the United States, about how Amazon is a brilliant company. And now you're talking about how it's one of 5 companies that take no capital to continue to build. How come you don't buy shares of Amazon?
Stupidity. I was impressed with Jeff early. I never thought he could pull off what he did. And what's really, I mean, I thought he could pull off something, but on the scale that has happened, I mean, it's changed your behavior, it's changed everybody in the office's behavior. And the remarkable thing about Jeff, and everything else, is he's done it in 2 industries almost simultaneously that really don't have that much connection. I've never seen any person develop 2 really important industries at the same time and really be the operational guy in both. And he's done a good job with the Washington Post on the side, just not personally. But here you take cloud services. I mean, there was a Charlie Rose show on this that he did 3 or 4 months ago. He thought he would have 2 years of runway. He got 7 years. You do not want to give Jeff Bezos a 7-year head start
before the competitors jumped in
any
on cloud
economic race.
services.
So at the same time he's shaking up the whole retail world. He's also shaking up the IT world simultaneously, and I take my hat off to him.
But by not buying shares right now, it suggests that you think maybe they're too rich, or is it that you don't understand the company's valuation?
It's a big valuation. It's very hard when you thought about something at 1/10 the price to buy it. We do it occasionally, and you're talking now about getting multiples from the hundreds of billions. And but if you told me that you were going to shoot me at the end of 10 years if a short worked out better than a long, I mean, I would take the long side. I'm not buying any, these are powerful ideas with big potential.
Amazon the people making the decision on Amazon are absolutely much value investors.
How come you haven't bought Amazon? Is there still time to buy? Would you still buy it?
Oh, I always admired
Continue to build. How come you don't buy shares of Amazon?
stupidity.